Hello, friends. It's been a while since I shared a video, and I thought it's pertinent, especially during the current geopolitical environment, to talk about a book which is very relevant in today's, environment, as India and Pakistan are almost at the brink of war, or kind of called ceasefire, based on which way you look at it. Uh, when you look at the division between India and Pakistan post independence, there is a very linear way of thinking, the role played by Jinnah, the Indian National Congress, and the two nation theory. But the reality is much more complex, or as I say, it is very non linear. And I wanted to share a book which is, and read some excerpts about it. It is basically, the book is titled, and I'll share it with you here. It's called the Shadow of the Great Game: The Untold Story of India's Partition. Now, this book was written by Narendra Singh Sarela, who was the ADC to who was ADC to Lord Mountbatten, the last Viceroy of India. He served a distinguished career in foreign service and had the very inside account of what was the real game being played behind the scenes for the partition. Now, as I said, that as people think that partition was something which was kind of part and parcel of two nation theory, the aspect of the Muslim majority and the Hindu majority and all that stuff which we have known, and majority of our thinking, unfortunately, when I say majority of our thinking, comes from quote unquote the movie Gandhi. And what I want to kind of share here is that Narendra Singh Sarela talks about. In fact, this is now well documented, not just in his book but across histories, that the real reason for partitioning India, or the real reason for creating Pakistan as a buffer state, was to create a buffer state between the India and Soviet Union. Uh, do remember, when India was partitioned, the World War II had just ended, and the Soviets had become powerful. They had crushed Germany, with of course the Allied powers. Um, the the power in Asia, Japan was decimated after the nuclear attacks, and the fear of communism or the start of the Cold War was part two of after the World War II. So they really needed a buffer state between India and Pakistan. Sorry, they really needed a buffer state, which could kind of make sure that India is, how should I say it? India may not be taken over by the communist region, or it doesn't become a vassal state of the communist Soviet Union, because of course, many leaders were kind of leaning towards the socialism and communism, so there was this eternal threat. So, what I want to do is read some passages from from the book, which kinds of highlights this theory and why this was so substantiated. Uh, so let me kind of give you some aspects to it. So in the first, this is from the book, as I said, the untold story of India's partition, and so Krishna Menon, who was the India's minister in Panditji's government later point of time, after independence, uh, he was a key. He played a key role while he was in United Kingdom prior to prior to the independence movement. So, and I'll just read a passage which kind of makes a lot of sense to what we are kind of referring to. So he says that, and this is Narendra Singh Naresh Sarela talking on the day Bevin, who was basically uh, the British Foreign Secretary, spoke. Krishna Menon was staying with Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru at 7 York Road in Delhi. Settled in London, Menon then headed the India League in UK, was a member of the British Labour Party, and the sole interlocutor on behalf of Nehru with the British Socialist leaders. So Krishna Menon was the interlocutor on behalf of the Congress Party with the Labour Party. Remember, Labour Party was the other party, the two-party system that you have the Tories and the Conservatives and the Labour. He was the first Indian whom the Lord Louis Mountbatten sought out on being appointed the Viceroy of India in March 1947. Menon's ego had then not inflated to the extent that was to wrap his thinking and judgment after Nehru made him the defense minister. We all know that what Menon role played or did not play in the 1962 war. So here this is a very much more subdued version of Menon. So referring to Bevan's remark, Menon wrote to Lord Mountbatten at Viceroy's house on 14 June in longhand as follows, or he did not, as follows: is this frontier, the northwest of India abutting Afghanistan and Iran, still the hinterland of the imperial strategy? Does Britain still think in terms of being able to use this territory and all that follows from it? There is considerable amount of talking in this way, and if Kashmir for one reason or the other chooses to be in Pakistan, that is the further development in this direction. I do not know of British policy in this matter. I do not know whether you would know it either, but if this be the British intent, this is tragic. As it becomes more evident, the attitude of India would be resentful, and Britain's hold on Pakistan would not improve it. I think I've said enough, perhaps a bit too much. Menon was raising two important questions. This is what Sarela writes. One, whether the British strategy was to use West Pakistan and the princely state of Kashmir as basis to contain the perceived Soviet ambitions towards the warm waters of Indian Ocean, Afghanistan and the Persian Gulf as the northwestern region of the undivided India, and had been used for the same purpose for over a century. And two, whether the British policy in this regard was to subterranean, that where even the Viceroy of India was kept in dark about it. I'll read another paragraph. This is I think this is in page 21 of this book. In 1943, an Indian scholar had put the British dilemma in a larger perspective. The Viceroy of the Allies will see Soviet Union established as the mightiest power in the Eurasian continent. With her enemy in Europe crushed beyond recovery for a generation, and Japan with her continental ambitions foiled for a time, Russia will find it easy to resume her southward march, which was interrupted in the 90s of the last century. The Indian Ocean gives her not merely the outlet to the sea for which she had been working for the 2 centuries, but a commanding position on one of the oceanic areas. Russia, no doubt, has no desire to annex the territories of other nations, but integral alliances with other nations organized on the basis of Soviet Republic is her policy in Asia as well as in Europe. If India passes into the orbit of the Soviet Union and finds a stable position in that alliance, the latter, already dominant in the Balkans and Central Europe, will become a world organization such as Lenin could not have dreamed of. Irresistible in its power, unequaled in its economic resources and manpower, and having a territorial basis spread over practically the whole of Asia and Europe. The eclipse of British Empire would be natural and inevitable outcome. I will read you one more part of it. So this is in page 191. While in London, Lord Wavell was the Viceroy prior to Lord Mountbatten. In fact, he was a key person who kind of divided India and Pakistan. While in London, Wavell on 31 August 1945 called on Churchill. According to Wavell's account, he warned me that the anchor himself was now gone and I was on the lee shore with rash pilots. His final remark as I closed the door on the lift was, "Keep a bit of India." Keep a bit of India. This was to Churchill. Britain's position at this stage could be summarized as follows. the British military was emphatic on the value of retaining its base for defensive and offensive action against the USSR in any future dispensation in the subcontinent. Wavell was quite clear that the objective could only be achieved through the partition, keeping a bit of India, because the Congress party after independence would not cooperate with Britain on military and strategic matters. And while leaders did not agree with Wavell that all was lost with Congress party, Attlee was nonetheless ready to support the division of India as long as the responsibility could not be attributed to Britain. Significantly, Gilbert Lilithwaite, the former private secretary of Lord Linlithgow, again one of the previous viceroys, had a strong supporter of Jinnah, was appointed the Secretary of India Committee of the British Cabinet, and Lord Ismay, the alter ego of Churchill during the war, became a senior member of the British Cabinet Secretary. It was the latter who provided the liaison between Attlee and the British Chiefs of Staff. So, the great game that was being played, because remember at that time United States was a rising power. It was not at stage what it was. By the way, this book also talks about that how United States played a key role in India's independence, which is often not very much recognized. But the key point here is that the rise of Soviet Union post World War II, and to contain that, because British considered itself a major world power, though it declined very quickly after the Second World War, as with the rise of America. It considered, India would become a vassal state of Soviet Union. They needed a buffer, and that was one of the key reasons for partition. The other point that I always kind of mention here is that there is a wrong perception that, Attlee and, because remember, after Churchill lost the election, Attlee became the prime minister, and during his tenure, India got the independence. He was from the Labour Party, and there is always another misconception that Labour is much more friendlier to India, at least during that time. Now, again, we don't know who is friendly and who is not. But anyways, but when it came to India, both Labour and Tories were pretty much on the same line. And as you can see, Attlee had pretty much signed up on the Wavell's plan of division of India, because they thought that it's an imperial state. And they especially saw the ports, in the Baluchistan as a key area for Persian Gulf. So, and if they opened it up, and if India had that access right up to the end, the northwest most frontiers of the subcontinent, then it would be an easy way for Soviets to kind of enter India. Now, I won't say enter India, but it kind of influence. Now, look at the irony that in spite of all this, India was allied very closely to Soviet Union. British lost its eminence. This whole idea of British, trying to contain Soviet Union was kind of mirage, because they themselves became a declining power after the imperialism kind of died out. And ultimately, we have been given this great gift by Great Britain of dividing our country into two parts. So, which is now three actually. So, if you can technically see that. So, wonderful book. As I said, my whole thesis is that there is more to what kind of meets the eye, and there is more complex elements and behind the scenes to every political, geopolitical, strategic decisions that happen. So with that, thank you very much, and God bless.